The professor stood at the lectern and called it Superstition. Right there, in front of 31 graduate students and a maintenance worker on his knees by the back wall, he pointed at the old janitor and said that prayer was the last refuge of people too uneducated to solve their own problems. That was a Tuesday in November. By Friday of the same week, something happened inside that building that left every credentialed mind in the department unable to offer a single rational explanation. And the only person who was not surprised was the man with the mop. This is Miracle Ledger. I am Claire. And tonight, we unseal another documented account from the archives of the unexplained. If you have ever been dismissed for what you believe, if your faith has ever been treated as weakness by someone who outranked you, then this record was written for you. Stay with me through every detail, because the ending of this case does not simply challenge the professor's arrogance. It dismantles it. The institution was a mid-sized state university in the American Midwest. The professor, Dr. David Hargrove, held tenure in the philosophy department. Published, awarded, quoted. He had built an entire career on the assertion that metaphysical claims were intellectually lazy. His office was lined with books that argued, in elegant prose, that the universe owed nothing to prayer. And in the hallway, outside that office, every evening after the last lecture, a 63-year-old janitor named Thomas Malone knelt beside the supply closet, pressed his forehead against the cold tile, and prayed the novena to Saint Jude Thaddeus. 9 days, every cycle, without interruption. Hargrove had noticed. He had mentioned it in a faculty meeting. He had used Thomas as an example during a guest lecture on cognitive bias. He said, and this is documented in a student recording from that semester, that the janitor represented, quote, the persistent human reflex to surrender agency to invisible forces rather than confront the randomness of existence, end quote. Thomas heard about the recording. He said nothing. He finished his shift, refilled the soap dispensers on the 3rd floor, and knelt again beside the closet at 9:15 that night. But what Thomas was praying for, nobody in that building knew yet. His wife, Gloria, had been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer 11 months earlier. The oncologist at the regional medical center had been direct. Median survival with treatment was between 3 and 6 months. Without treatment, 8 to 12 weeks. Gloria had chosen a limited course of chemotherapy, not because she believed it would cure her, but because Thomas asked her to try. He had promised her he would find another way. He did not mean a second opinion. He did not mean a clinical trial. He meant the novena. Thomas had grown up in a family that treated the saints not as decorations, but as intercessors. His grandmother, a woman who had emigrated from County Cork in 1952, kept a small card of Saint Jude in the pocket of her apron every day of her life. She told Thomas when he was 9 years old that Jude was the patron of impossible causes, and that impossible did not mean unlikely. It meant already decided against by every human authority. It meant the case was closed, and that was precisely when Jude opened it. So Thomas prayed. He prayed in the hallway. He prayed in the parking lot before his shift. He prayed in the hospital chapel while Gloria slept with tubes running into both arms. And every time he knelt, he carried the same weight in his chest, that heavy cold pressure right below the sternum that anyone who has watched a spouse disappear into illness knows without needing a description. He never asked for attention. He never explained himself to colleagues. He simply prayed and worked and drove to the hospital and came back and prayed again. When Hargrove mocked him during that November lecture, Thomas did not feel anger. He felt something closer to sadness. Not for himself, for the professor, because Thomas understood something that tenure and publications could not teach. He understood that the universe does not rearrange itself for the proud. It bends for the broken. If this account is reaching something deep inside you, take a moment, subscribe to this channel, and help us keep these records alive for those who carry the same weight tonight. Gloria Malone's medical file tells the rest of the story in clinical language that leaves no room for sentiment. On November 14th, her oncology team at St. Francis Regional documented a comprehensive scan review. The pancreatic mass, previously measured at 4.7 centimeters with confirmed hepatic metastases, had not responded to the palliative chemotherapy protocol. The attending oncologist noted in the chart, quote, "disease progression consistent with expected trajectory," end quote. Hospice referral was initiated. On November 19th, 5 days later, a second scan was ordered after a routine blood panel returned results that the laboratory flagged as a possible instrument error. Her tumor marker levels, previously elevated above 1,200 units, had dropped to 406. The radiology team repeated the imaging. The hepatic lesions appeared reduced. The primary mass showed irregular borders consistent with necrosis. The radiologist requested a peer review. 2 additional physicians examined the films independently. Both confirmed the findings. By November 28th, the mass had shrunk to 1.9 centimeters. No new metastatic activity. The hospice referral was suspended. The oncologist entered a note that would later be cited in the hospital's internal case review. He wrote, quote, "The rate and pattern of regression is inconsistent with the expected pharmacological response of the administered protocol and does not correlate with any documented spontaneous remission pattern in current medical literature," end quote. Nobody at the hospital used the word miracle, but nobody could use the word medicine either. Something had intervened outside the boundaries of the documented protocol, and Thomas Malone, the man with the mop and the novena card in his shirt pocket, already knew what it was. Now, consider this. Picture the moment. It is December 3rd. Thomas walks into the philosophy building for his evening shift. He is carrying the same bucket, the same mop, wearing the same gray uniform. But this time, something in his posture is different. His shoulders are not hunched. His eyes are not red. And when he passes the open door of Hargrove's office, he does not kneel by the closet. He stops. He looks at the professor, and he says 6 words. "She is in remission, full remission." Hargrove did not respond immediately. He asked which patient Thomas was referring to. Thomas said his wife. Hargrove pulled up his glasses and asked what treatment had worked. Thomas said the novena, 9 days of prayer to Saint Jude. That was the treatment. The silence in that office lasted 11 seconds. A graduate assistant standing in the hallway later described it as the longest silence she had ever witnessed from a man who had made a career out of never being speechless. Hargrove cleared his throat. He asked if there was medical documentation. Thomas said yes. Complete imaging, blood panels, 3 independent physician reviews, all documented at St. Francis Regional. Over the following 2 weeks, Hargrove did something that no student or colleague had ever seen him do. He requested access to Gloria's case file through the university's Medical Ethics Board. He read every scan report, every lab result, every clinical note. He cross-referenced the timeline with published remission data for stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The statistical probability of the observed regression occurring without additional intervention, according to the literature Hargrove himself reviewed, was below 0.4%. And even that figure assumed a younger patient with a different histological subtype. Hargrove sat in his office on December 19th and stared at the data on his screen. 31 years of academic certainty. Hundreds of published pages arguing that the rational mind needed no external metaphysical framework. And now a janitor's wife, a woman whose hospice paperwork had already been filed, was walking into her kitchen and making coffee. The trained professional who had built his entire intellectual identity on explaining the explainable was now sitting in complete silence, unable to explain the one case that mattered most. I will tell you what happened next, because the record does not end with the remission. It ends with what the remission did to the people around it. Hargrove did not make a public retraction. He did not publish a paper or give a press conference. But in January, during the first faculty seminar of the spring term, he deviated from his prepared material. He told his students that intellectual honesty required him to acknowledge that he had encountered a case he could not resolve within his existing framework. He did not say the word miracle. He said anomaly. But the students who had been in the room during the November lecture understood exactly what he meant. Thomas continued working at the university for another 4 years. He never mentioned the incident publicly. When a local reporter contacted him after a colleague leaked the story, Thomas declined the interview. He said the novena was not for publicity. It was for Gloria. Gloria herself lived another 6 years. She passed peacefully in her sleep at the age of 74, surrounded by her children, holding the same Saint Jude prayer card that Thomas had carried in his pocket every night in that hallway. I share this record not to mock the professor. Pride is not a terminal condition. It bends. Hargrove proved that when he stood in front of his students and admitted, however quietly, that his certainty had limits. And Thomas proved something that no tenure committee and no peer-reviewed journal has ever been able to refute. That devotion, sustained in silence, without audience and without applause, carries a weight that trained reason alone cannot measure. The ledger reminds us that the walls built by human pride are high, but grace always finds the fracture. This record is now officially closed, but the unexplained, as always, remains very much alive. Until the next account, keep your heart open, and remember, no cause is truly lost when intercession enters the room.